Hey guys, it's David here at FLC Knives. Today I want to talk to you about purpose. Why does FLC Knives exist? Good question. Ultimately, I think the easy way to answer that is to delve into my background and the training and the experiences that I've had. I've loved knives since I was a child. My earliest memories involved using knives to, make things. I was very interested in survival training, bushcraft at a very young age. And I grew up in the country, so lots of opportunities to just doing chores and, when I had free time to, survival train, right? I mean, we were hunting and harvesting things and making shelters and doing fire prep and all that kind of stuff very young. And so, I got a pretty good perspective on things because of that, right? And my first vocation was as a butcher. I started that in high school. And so you get that professional, not just professional use, but like professional pace use. You're cutting meat for 10 hours, right? Or 12 hours. So we did pull some long shifts. I had a part-time job working full-time hours, right? I worked 40 to 60 hours a week as a student. So, that time with a blade in hand, you learn a lot. And, all these things really shaped my experiences. And as I got older, the different martial arts training I was exposed to really also kind of played a role in that. And a lot of the blades that I've created, through FLC Knives, because I made my first knife when I was around 6 years old with my father. So, it's been a long road of making knives. I make a lot more knives now, but as a very young kid, I got a Dremel, and the rest is history. I think I was in grade 3 or 4. I had a Dremel, and I would buy with, a little bit of money that I could get a hold of. I would buy, old kitchen knives from flea markets and yard sales. Sometimes I'd find small files and I would use those because I knew there was something about the steel that I didn't understand. So I would buy, things that already possessed the qualities that I thought I needed. And I would just, old chef's knife, I'd just take a Sharpie and draw on it the knife I wanted and I'd carve it out, right? And then I knew I had to keep it cool, right? So I would grind slow and quench often and all that good stuff. And so I, was making knives from knives. And that was kind of how I dealt with the need for proper carbon steel and heat treat. But, moving forward now, most of the knives that I make are just a response to, my internal process of thinking. Like get off the tool number 1 is a very simple, straight spike. I learned that, statistically, penetration beats slashing. Well, okay, point-driven tools, then basically any tool needs to function first and foremost as a point-driven tool if, in fact, it is not meant as a utilitarian tool. The cutting ability is secondary. So making it point-driven kind of negates the utility unless you're using it as an awl or some other, specialized application. So get off tool number 1 came from that kind of realization, we'll say. Get off tool number 2 is very much the same idea, but it's an experiment in not having a guard so much as having a depth stop that is not your thumb, right? We know from training that, thumb capping prevents you from riding forward on the tool, but it also increases the chances that the blade will be stripped from your grip, right? So having the depth stop that's designed into the get off tool number 2 is an experiment into that, and just playing with the idea that you don't have to thumb cap, but that also comes as a trade-off where you don't have the ability to comfortably or ergonomically hold the tool any way you want. So get off with tool number 1 is easily 4 or more grips that you're comfortable with that tool. Get on the tool number 2, suddenly you've got less than half of that. So let's jump forward to get off me tool number 6. Get off me tool number 6 was the first ring tool that I played with. And the reason that became a thing was I got exposed to FMA, or Filipino martial arts, and karambits specifically. And I thought to myself, well, I wasn't enamored, put it that way. I was not enamored by karambits in any way, shape, or form. My highly practical background in blades really sort of made me question the utility of this ring on the end of a blade. And then if you go on YouTube and you watch people flailing about recklessly and basically just trying to look cool, it doesn't really sell the story. So, I had to take and look into it for myself. So I gave myself an individual study unit, an ISU, to explore ring blades. So that's what I did. And I went back to basics, put the simple get off me tool number 1, symmetrical profile with a ring on the end. So I started with that, and I started to realize how it can really cramp the hand if the ergonomics aren't, accommodating. So I played with it and ended up with the get off me tool number 6 as you know it today. But in between there and now, it was a point driven tool, and then it became a bladed tool. And that was specifically, pardon me for a moment, that was specifically in response to some military guys saying, hey, we really like this tool, but if it can't cut, if it can't have at least like an inch or so of cutting blade on it, we won't carry it, right? It has to have that extra bit of utility added in. So that is what prompted the design to go to where it is now. And at that point, it was a reverse edge tool. Now, to date, I've made and sold a ton more forward edge. And I do think that the vast majority of people do want forward edge. That's what I'm seeing. So why reverse edge? Well, certain methodologies call for reverse edge. It's just a school of thought thing. I'm not here to say one is superior to the other. I honestly don't think one is. I think it's the tool coupled with the training. So the guy wielding the tool, if he had been trained in forward edge methodologies, giving him a reverse edge tool is going to be less effective, and vice versa, right? So I'm not here to sell anybody on any school. I think that the thing that you are most competent at is your greatest strength, right? If you're better trained at juggling, we're not going to judge you for your basket weaving ability. That's just not how it works. So yeah, the get off me tool number 6 as a ring tool, I learned a lot in that process, and some of the things that I can just off the top of my head rattle off. I'd have to dig out a binder, right? I have notes on all this stuff. I've got notes going back over 30 years on all these things at this point. So specifically off the top of my head for the get off me tool number 6 ring tools, it's a trade-off. You can't access the tool quite like you could if it had a full handle sticking out. And the same is true for if somebody's trying to grab your tool. It's also harder for them to get a hold of it. So in situations where that is valued, then it's a trade-off that's acceptable to make it so it's a little bit slower for you to access, right? So it's not the right tool for every occasion. It's the right tool when the end user deems it to be the right tool and, participates in the relevant required training. So we've got them available in reverse edge and forward edge, and then there's the stubby in forward edge and reverse edge. And I've got a lot of people actually asking me for a medium. So I've been considering doing that. So, comment below if that's something of interest to you. And also comment below if you feel like I'm missing anything here. I'm just winging this. So, it's very likely there's some holes in this telling. From the Get Off Me Tool number 6, I talked to a ton of people that were saying, we really like what you're doing here. We like the execution. We're just not ring blade people. So from that has been spawned a pile of stuff, some of which you've probably seen and some of which you haven't seen yet as of the recording of this video. There's Get Off Me Tool number 9, which is the same cross section as the ring tool minus the ring, which is a simple paracord wrap, right? So that's my first take at it. It's a distillation or a boiling down to the syrupy goodness of the tool. And the attributes mentioned a few moments ago, now you've got that full-size handle. So you've got that quicker access for you, and it's quicker, easier access for anyone else that might buy it and think they want to grab a hold of it. So there's also a version of that with a larger handle in the works, and that's been in the works for quite some time. I actually intended to roll it out probably about a year ago, but we've just been too busy, right? So, spin-offs of the Get Off Me Tool number 6 have been the Kirdashi, which I think I should just assign a number to, or perhaps even call it the FLC Knives marking knife, because that's basically what it is. It's inspired by the traditional Kirdashi marking knives that are used by craftsmen. It just so happens they also just cut like a beast. So those are things you've seen, and then spinning off the platform of that with the way that the sheath interacts with that profile of a tool is the FLC Knives sheathing system. And I'm using that for the pry bar now, and I've got some other stuff that I'm experimenting with. And all these things, they're all just an exploration of the things that I'm wondering about and learning about in my journey. I don't take anything at face value. I could have, back when I started into FMA, just said, oh yeah, karambits, okay, we train karambits for 30 minutes on Wednesday, and left it at that. But that's not how I do things. I had questions, and I now have a really solid grasp of my view based on experience and analysis, and just deliberately pondering on something a lot longer than a normal person might think suitable. So if you see an FLC Knives product, rest assured there's been way too much time put into thinking about it and testing it. And they're all in a state of flux. They're all evolving. There's some minor tweaks I have to roll out into the coming production runs of Get Off Me Tool number 6, as well as the handled variants that I was talking about. And there's going to be some conventional style blades coming out. There's things that I've been working on for the last 2 years that are based on traditional designs that I have explored in similar fashion as I have with the ring tool. So just as I was exposed to the ring tool through FMA, I was exposed to other tools through other places or people. And those experiences prompted me to go down the same kind of rabbit hole where I said, okay, but I want to see for myself. And that's the only way that I can comfortably make a product and sell it, is because I now can speak with authority that this works in this context, and I can answer your questions, and I can speak at length, way too much at length sometimes with some of this stuff. So, if you have questions about this, comment below, contact me directly, whatever you like. This is what I do. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm very grateful for the support that I receive for this, because it's not a cheap pursuit. I could pan around this one-car garage here and show you, all the tools, but I won't, because it's for another video. So I think that about wraps it up. That is largely what drives everything here at FLC Knives and what drives me as a creator. I apply the same stuff to everything that I do, whether it's my day job where I manage a machine shop for a local company, or whether it's the other knife projects that I'm involved in. I've just started to officially roll out the knife maker coaching. And yes, I have to come up with a better name. That sucks. It's more like the FLC Knives 10K Accelerator, the knife maker incubator program. But I have to make it sound better than that. But in a nutshell, I want to share everything that I've learned over the last decades with you guys, because I remember what it was like coming up. Right? So the coaching is just another FLC product that I've had way too much time and thought put into, that it's time. I'm bursting at the seams here. I need to let it out, let off some pressure. And so if that's something of interest to you, if you are making knives and you're kind of struggling to like be efficient or be profitable or effective, perhaps you're just really struggling with certain aspects of the craft, I can help you with any of those things, and I intend to help you with all those things. All you have to do is just reach out, and we can have a little phone call, Zoom or something like that, but like a phone call conversation, just to see where that fits in, and if you think that it's a good fit, and if I think it's a good fit, because I'm not going to sell you anything that isn't actually what you need. If you come and describe your situation, I'll either tell you, yes, I can help you, or no, you should go here, right? Because I don't really, well, obviously, I'm far too passionate about this stuff for any of that nonsense. So, all that being said, I'm going to keep refining the FLC Knives products. I'm going to keep refining the coaching program, and you'll hear more about it in the coming days. But by all means, ask your questions. FLC Knives is an end user feedback driven company, first and foremost. And without your feedback, I can't do my job. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.